This story you see right here, well, this picture, leads to a story that was sent to me not only on Twitter, but it was emailed to me as well. And this is going to prove without the shadow of doubt why I like to call myself an equal opportunity analyst, because there's no way anybody can say that I'm being biased when it comes to stories, especially if they kind of have some similarities to other ones I've talked about. Now, we all know that over the last couple of months, people have been losing their minds with this Popeye's chicken sandwich, and we don't really need to rehash the stuff that has occurred. We already know. But this also shows how mainstream media will focus on one element while trying to bury or not even talk about another. Because this story right here is going to be the prime example of that. So in this picture, you see three people. Their name is Andrew Adams, Bradley Jacobs, and Sabrina Bell. All three of them are Indiana judges, and they were just recently suspended. Now you have to wonder, what in the world could they have been suspended for, and why did I mention Popeye's chicken sandwich or the Popeyes incidents? Well, it has something to do with fast food, not necessarily Popeyes, but fast food. So these three judges right here who hold some of the top positions for the state, all three of them got into a brawl at a fast food restaurant. What fast food restaurant, you may ask? A little fast food spot named White Castle. Some of you may or may not have heard of White Castle, but basically it's a fast food chain that serves little miniature square-shaped burgers and fries. Me personally, when I was eating fast food, I could only deal with White Castle in dosages. Thankfully, it was not near me, because that also is, for me, is known as the clean out spot. And when I say clean out, it will clean your insides out. So if you're feeling backed up, get you a few White Castle burgers, and that'll do the trick. And I'm not even saying that to be funny, but it is the truth. But yeah, they got into a brawl. As a matter of fact, two of them were left wounded. Now, why isn't mainstream media talking about this? After all, these were three judges. These weren't regular people. Oh, I know. Just look at them. I don't have to go any further than that. Y'all already know what the subliminal is. But let me go ahead and read this article coming from NPR.org. Back in May, look at that, back in May. Now, this was back before, way before Popeye's chicken sandwich craze took over. About, 3 months before, because that craze started in August. Back in May, three Indiana judges got into a fight. It was the crescendo of an incident brimming with colorful details. A gaggle of judges drinking the night before a judicial conference. A failed attempt to visit a strip club called the Red Garter. A brawl in the parking lot of an Indianapolis White Castle. Now, all of what I just said involved all three of them. They got drunk, they went to a bar, and then they got into a fight at the White Castle. All in the same night. It sounds like something out of the movie Hangover. The altercation apparently started sometime after 3 a.m. when one of the judges, Sabrina Bell, raised a middle finger at two men yelling from a passing SUV, and ended after one of those men shot two of the judges. I didn't know there was gunshots involved. In between, the three judges took a number of actions that discredited the entire Indiana judiciary, according to an opinion posted by the Indiana Supreme Court this week, suspending the judges. The court found that the three, Andrew Adams, Bradley Jacobs, and Sabrina Bell, had engaged in judicial misconduct by appearing in public in an intoxicated state and behaving in a very questionable manner, and by becoming involved in a verbal altercation. Adams and Jacobs engaged in further judicial misconduct by becoming involved in a physical altercation for which Judge Adams was criminally charged and convicted. The document lays out the events as soberly as possible, but the details remain spicy. While in town to attend a statewide educational conference for judicial officers, 10 hours before the program convened, respondents walked the streets of downtown Indianapolis in a heavily intoxicated state. When Judge Bell extended her middle finger to a passing vehicle, neither Judge Adams nor Judge Jacobs discouraged the provocation or removed themselves from the situation. The three had ended up at a White Castle after trying to go to a strip club at 3 a.m. and finding it closed. A fourth judge went into the White Castle while Bell, Adams, and Jacob stood outside. Two men in the passing vehicle, Alfredo Vasquez and Brandon Kaiser, parked their car after the gesture from Bell. Bell and Vasquez traded further insults. A physical altercation ensued among the four men, with Adams and Vasquez allegedly hitting and kicking each other as Jacobs and Kaiser wrestled on the ground. Kaiser then allegedly pulled a gun and shot Adams once in the stomach and Jacobs twice in the chest. Adams and Jacobs were both seriously wounded and required emergency surgeries. Jacobs was hospitalized for 2 weeks. Bell tried to stop the fighting by pounding on the door of a White Castle for help and calling 911 once shots were fired. So based on what I'm looking at this right now, she is the one that really kicked all of this off when she flipped the bird. She kicked all of it off. And notice that she was the only one out of the three that were not injured. While at the scene, Bell was recorded on video telling police detectives something akin to, "I feel like this is all my fault." Oh, you think? Though the opinion notes that Bell was intoxicated enough that she lacks any memory of the incident. Kaiser, who allegedly shot Adams and Jacobs, has been charged with 14 crimes related to the brawl, including 4 charges of felony aggravated battery. The court suspended both Jacobs and Bell for 30 days without pay. Adams, who pleaded guilty in September to 1 count of misdemeanor battery, is suspended for 60 days without pay. He was sentenced to 365 days in jail, but was required to serve only 2. Now, let me just stop right there. Now, all 3 of these people got a combined total of 90 days suspension without pay. 30 for 2, 60 for 1. One was supposed to do a year and only did 2 days in jail. Yet you have Judge Olu Stevens, who got suspended for 90 days without pay because he wanted to give a client a fair trial. Not a client of his, but one of the defendant a fair trial, who happened to be a black man. Make it make sense. Yet these 3 right here get into an intense altercation at a White Castle that could have resulted in 2 of them being deceased. And they get 30 days without pay. And one gets 60 without pay and only 2 days in jail. Let's see here. In the White Castle incident, the court said the 3 judges gravely undermined public trust in the dignity and decency of Indiana judiciary. The court says its penalties are designed not primarily to punish a judge, but rather to preserve the integrity of and public confidence in the judicial system, and when necessary to remove those who are unfit. Just reading that statement alone, you can tell they didn't want to suspend them. They wanted to work around the system to protect them at all costs, no matter what happened. Now, like I said, this happened back in May. Reading the details of that story right there should have made national news. Sort of the same way that the incident involving Rico McClain stabbing and killing Kevin Tyrell Davis at the Popeyes did last week. Or 2 weeks ago, I should say. But because of the obvious, and because of their positions as judges, they swept this under the rug. And they really did. Because like I said, this happened back in May of this year. And the only reason we know about it now is because they've been formally charged and given their punishment. That's why. If they had given their punishment back then, we probably would have never heard about this. Especially since this happened months ago. But again, this is also another classic case of us versus them. Now, I wonder if there was a black judge involved, what would he have received? But the fact of the matter is, these were judges. Now, I can't even say were as in past tense because they were only suspended. They weren't fired. They're still a judge. Like, this story right here should definitely follow them for the rest of their career as well as the rest of their life, but especially their career, because I would not want them to be the judge presiding over any case I had to have that involved me going to trial, knowing this right now. And why were they out there at that time knowing they had a conference to go to 10 hours later? They would have showed up there. If this incident right here didn't happen, they would have showed up to that conference completely hung over, out at 3 a.m. looking to go to a titty bar, as they used to say back in the day. Judges, y'all. These are judges. These aren't just regular, average, everyday corporate America people. These are people that when they bang that gavel, their word is whatever it is. Your fate usually is always in their hands. But it is what it is. Y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.